Welcome to another edition of The Lunchbox with your host Tim Rain. Today we have a special guest with us, Maggie Estey from Gallery Connection. She's the Education, Membership, and Events Coordinator, working for a nonprofit. She wears a lot of hats, and she's very effective in those roles. We're really happy to have her here, and we're excited to announce that every Thursday she will be coming on to our show and discussing upcoming events that's happening at Gallery Connections, and I'm sure in between those discussions of upcoming events, we'll have some really interesting discussions also about what's been going on in the community in different areas as well, and giving people some information about what their community's been up to. Thanks, Maggie, for coming in.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Now, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the stuff you brought out to me, I guess, earlier, and it seems to me that you guys have been extremely busy, and that is good. You need to be busy, but you have this Celestial City that you just completed doing this project. What's this all about exactly?
Celestial City is hopefully an annual music and art festival. The first one ever was last week, and we kicked it off with a screening of the film No Fun City. It's a brand new documentary by filmmakers in Vancouver, and it's actually premiering all over the world right now. We had the only New Brunswick premiere in Fredericton here.
Yeah, what was that about? I've heard about this, and I didn't get a chance to see it. What is it again?
It's about how hard it is to find a venue, a reliable, regular venue for loud and experimental music in Vancouver. I mean, the problem exists everywhere, but in Vancouver, it's especially difficult because bars can't remain open as late, for example, there as they do here necessarily. There's a lot of different zoning stuff. Anyway, it's very, very difficult to put on, alternative seeming shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's a very interesting observation, and especially when you look at Fredericton. I mean, It's not Vancouver, but how does that make you feel? Because I know that, it's a challenge for many bands around here over the years to have a good venue.
Mm-hmm. Well, we haven't had one in a long time. I mean, one reason why we decided to kind of make the theme of Celestial City like punk and hardcore and DIY and experimental is the fact that there's not really so much a punk scene in Fredericton anymore because we haven't had the venues.
Because people used to play in churches and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people just kind of felt grinded down after a while, like it wasn't possible or whatever. But now we actually have a really great venue at Gallery Connection. We have a lot of community support. We had sponsorship from Picaroons this year for our Celestial City thing that we did. And I don't know, we had a discussion, the audience members and I, after the show, just kind of erupted spontaneously. And one thing that we took away from the film is we're really lucky here, because there are things possible here, actually, that you wouldn't think are possible. Especially, it could be so much harder. We noticed just from the film.
Explain, because I think you just came up with something really, really great, because we have such a defeatist attitude sometimes in this province that we think, woe is me, we can't get something done because we don't have the resources. But in this case, it sounds to me that there are resources, but we just didn't know they were there. Is that what you're kind of suggesting?
Yeah, I think there's kind of an inversion of the problem here, actually. I think people need to be coaxed out.
So it's more people than the events, kind of.
Yeah, lately, people are like, oh, well, there's nothing cool in Fredericton, there's nothing really going on, everything's always, you have to go to the bar for this, and I don't like crowds, so and so do you think people stay home, and it's like, well, come here.
Let me ask you about that. Do you think, with youth culture today, when I was a kid going to bars, and again, I'm older than you, but when I go to the bars, it was pretty happening. There were bands going, people were doing that. But it seems like over the last few years, people don't want to go out as much. Is it a combination of the cost of going out and people feel like it's cheaper to stay in and drink? Is it because we have these massive entertainment units now that where people can stay home and do stuff on the internet, on their TVs, and do everything else, where people feel less interested? And I'm wondering if pothead culture is actually making people not want to go out either. I mean, youth culture seems to be less active in some ways, but I'm making a huge generalization, and I hope you can prove me wrong. Maybe I am wrong.
Maybe. you know what? There was a recession on for a while. Mm-hmm. You know, and I know I don't make a lot of money myself.
No, but most of the people most of the young people today don't, or even back then, never made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I think it's more about getting out. I think that issue that you're talking about, I spoke with many people about venues lately, mm-hmm. and that issue is the issue: is how do we get people to come out now?
Well, there's the internet, right? Like I'm super into the internet myself. Anybody who knows me who's listening is probably laughing really hard. I basically am the internet. But I think people are maybe becoming maybe a little more closed off.
Is it because of social media, you think?
It could be. Yeah, I think it could be because of social media. I mean, I don't have any hard facts to present you with right now.
No, it's just a discussion, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it is something I think about a lot. And I mean, I read articles all the time about how, you know, people thought that social media and social networking and stuff were going to bring people together. But as it turns out, people are maybe staying in more often because they feel they can get their interaction in
elsewhere. Yeah.
Via the internet or whatever.
So do you think it would be really interesting to know, I mean, bars have alcohol, mm-hmm. and, you know, that will drive a lot of people to go. But I wonder, you know, anyway, I have no answers and no way to really find out unless I did some reporting, which I'm not. But it's just wondering how well in the bar scene is actually doing in the community these days. But yeah, the argument's less with the bar scene and trying to get events off the ground. And I've heard this from a lot of people too, that mm-hmm. it is a challenge. And as you know, I put an event on myself there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, the shake and bake thing.
Yeah, and it, you know, we only had a week and a half to advertise, so, you know, we were pretty happy with that people came, but we would like that large, you know, bigger numbers. But I also know that I've spoken to a lot of people who said they were going to go that didn't end up going, and, you know, I can't get upset with people like that because I do that all the time. People invite me, and you and I were talking about that today.
You know, my job exhausts me. You know? Like, it's kind of nice, it's kind of handy that I can have events at the gallery and make it my job to be there, because otherwise I'd never have any fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what everyone else's excuses. Is everybody tired? Is everybody like super tired all the time?
I honestly
change in season maybe.
Well, I think it's a bunch of those things, but I think it is a slight, maybe not so slight, but there is a change in kind of the subculture of youth culture today. I think mm-hmm. to a certain point, and I don't think it's happening just here. I think it's happening everywhere, and I think even this film that you're talking about, Celestial City. I mean, it's
the film was No Fun City.
Oh, No Fun City.
The event was Celestial City.
Oh, I apologize.
It's okay.
But no Fun City. That's really interesting because when people think fun, they think Vancouver.
Yeah.
You know, like...
But they're known as the No Fun City. Like, that's kind of why the title is that.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, it's like...
But how long was it like that? Was that a recent term, or...?
I don't know.
Because for me, when I lived out there, I used to see shows all the time. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, what we're talking about, it's not just... Like, I think it's this... Obviously, this film is about Vancouver, but I think it's happening in a lot of places. So, anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But for you, though, being an events coordinator and being at Gallery Connections, the one thing I'm really excited about is that every time I turn around, there's always something going on where you work. You got some great acts coming in, some really interesting art mm-hmm.
exhibits,
some really good community-centric events and information sessions. And I find that to be extremely positive because you guys have really come out of nowhere. And I know you've been here before, but it just feels mm-hmm. like your face is even more prominent now in the community. And I see that you guys are really embracing the kind of, you know, eclectic nature of your role.
Yeah, like, well, another thing that Celestial City was about was presenting an alternative to Harvest. Mm-hmm. I mean, Harvest is great. It's a boon for the downtown and so on.
Was that Chris Giles' thing?
What Chris Giles thing?
Was that what Chris was doing? It was the anti-harvest kind of thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure what Chris got up to.
Okay, I thought maybe that's what it was.
It wasn't really, like, ours was just kind of an alternative, like, where Harvest, I mean, the lineup, there wasn't a lot in the Harvest lineup to grab me, for one thing. And then also a lot of the Harvest events were held in bars where younger people can't really get in. Well, maybe there are ways.
So did you do all ages?
It was all ages.
Oh,
all
cool.
ages, 4 nights in a row of all ages events, and it was a beautiful thing.
Hey, I think that's fantastic, and I'm happy to see that you guys did that. So it could become something that is annual that will build every year.
Well, you know, we didn't lose any money.
And you know what else could happen is mm-hmm. you have like a bit of the alternative scene, mm-hmm. seeing the opportunity to play when there's like 10,000 extra people in the city, some of these people may not get tickets, or they want to see something different and check it out. But I was talking to Craig Mercer, who owns the Paragon Theater, and he's part of the Jimmy Swift Band,
right.
And he was telling me that it's always a real challenge to fill his spot in Halifax, but he knows how to. He's figured it out, and he said, it does take time to make your place become the spot. It can't happen overnight.
Exactly.
It takes a while, so you have to have a bit of patience. So for you guys, it could be 2 or 3 years you start seeing some bigger acts, so it coming in as well. But what I also like about you guys is that you do pick local acts. It's not about getting the big acts. It's about getting local acts.
Well, I mean, being a nonprofit, our function is basically to function. Our function is to function as a place for people who don't necessarily have a place. And we don't have an overhead. We're not looking to make a lot of money. We're looking to make back any expenses and to pay our rent. That's important. But, I mean, we're not a business, so we're not necessarily, we don't have necessarily the same concerns that a bar would. I mean, for example, you can't let the, art can't fall on the shoulders of bars, because it's not really... That's a lot of responsibility for them. They're trying to run a business, So, why not? It should be in a gallery.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And I think there can always be that relationship. And I know you've done that in the past.
Yeah, we have.
Like where you can work with the Capitol and not become a threat. Because I think the thing is, it's not about being a threat. It's about working together. Because for a lot of the cases, a lot of the people you want to do shows with are people that may not, be people that necessarily would work for them at the Capitol.
Yeah,
anyway.
That's right. And, we get, Zach Atkinson, for example, who books at the Capitol, every now and then will email me and be like, we have a band who kind of wants to play the Capitol. They just want to play in Fredericton. Not really a great fit for the Capitol, maybe Gallery Connection. And that works out for us.
That's awesome.
And often when maybe a more mainstream type of act approaches Gallery Connection and wants to have a show here, we're like, that's not really our mandate. Have you contacted the Capitol? So we're definitely not in competition anyway. We're definitely
and I don't feel like and it doesn't appear to be either.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now I know we got some stuff on our agenda and we'll keep moving here, but
sure.
The change of plans residency. What's this all about? Oh, and before we get into that, I just want to say we're speaking with Maggie Estey from Gallery Connections, who's the education membership and events coordinator. The reason why I say that is one of my good friends told me the other day I only announced to people at the beginning, and if you catch misses the beginning, he doesn't know who I'm talking to.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to say the change of plans residency. What is that all about?
That's a community art project that will be headed up by our newest artist in residence, Imani Men. He's coming from Montreal, and he does this type of project. He's done it in different cities around Canada and so on. We have our building used to be a canoe factory. After that, it was a nightclub, and now it's a gallery. It's Gallery Connection. It's an artist-run center. And what he wants to do is he kind of wants to make like a living history of what that space has been, like the various incarnations of it. And it's a community art project in the sense that we're gathering artifacts and stories from people who remember the building in its various incarnations, like people who maybe worked at the Chestnut Canoe Factory, people who own bits and pieces of old chestnut canoes and so on. People have all kinds of crazy stories from, the Chestnut nightclub. There are definitely those.
Yeah. I don't even want to go there yet.
Yeah, and so we're Imani's in the process of interviewing various people who put on shows at the Chestnut nightclub and who played in bands at the Chestnut nightclub.
That's funny because yesterday on my show I had a good friend of mine, a musician, Peter Lockhart, on, and he and when his band was playing back, this is a few years ago now, back in '99, him and his wife and a full band were playing, and there's a big crowd there. And
at the Chestnut?
Yeah, at the Chestnut, and I was really kind of inebriated, and I jumped on stage and sang with them. And we were talking about that yesterday on the show, and it was a blast because I was good friends with them, and so I jumped up and sang with them on a couple tracks, and I just remember being just feeling at that time, which was kind of a shame, is that the Chestnut put some renovations in to have shows there.
Yeah.
And then it went under not shortly after that, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And they try to make it into a venue, but I think the reputation of the Chestnut Bar was always kind of a shit and kick bar, right?
Yeah, it's too bad. But there were some really great shows put on there. It was a great venue. There were people who loved it. I mean, the culture was not always...
I saw Eric Strip there.
Yeah.
I saw Eric
remember Eric Strip. I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Because I was I was 18. But...
you were by the door.
I was by the door. Listening. Loitering.
Yeah. I was at that show.
Picking at cigarette butts. No.
That was yesterday.
I don't smoke. Yeah, yesterday. But yeah, the Chestnut was a great venue. Like going, we were just talking about like lack of venues and how important a good venue is to any city really. But I mean, if you have memories of the Chestnut as a venue, as a canoe factory, even like we want to hear from you. And I think it'll be a really cool thing to see once it's all together.
Absolutely, because there's so many people that have lived in that space, and you get and from what I can see, it's such a it's like any place. It has a bit of a history. It has its own life, its own experiences. I actually did a really great film by Chris Giles, an experimental film that he did a couple years ago. I think it was Cliff Street. It was the name of it. May be wrong, but it was just a place that he lived in, and he did this beautiful short film about watching the place being torn down and kind of like reliving those memories and exploring them through this really non-narrative kind of approach. And and it was just kind of a collection of images and memory, and I just remember feeling very, and it doesn't happen very much when you see an experimental film to get emotionally involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because usually it's about the form.
Because usually you're just so taken by what's happening, and it's like, why is it? Yeah. Yeah,
it's usually the form for me, like I'm caught in. But in this case, because the context of it, you could tell that there was people who felt this sadness over it, but also like warmth that was coming out of these images.
It's interesting the attachments we form to places and to buildings, and structures and stuff like that. Even a place like the Chestnut.
Well, this is something I want to ask you. Here's a place the Chestnut, for my generation, was, for a lot of people, like, I find bars in this city have always go through cycles. For like 5-7 years, a certain bar will be really popular, and then then another bar will become popular. And a lot of the times it's the same bars, it's the same owners, they just go through these cycles.
Yeah.
The Chestnut went through that period when I was in my 20s, and it was very popular. And, the thing is, though, it didn't have the reputation or the respect, I guess, in some ways, that I think Gallery Connections can get out of that space. And what I mean by that is, because of everything you said earlier about why Gallery Connections does what it does and why you bring acts in, I think that the rebranding of the space because of the fact that you guys are Gallery Connections will bring a lot more people down there that may have never gone to the Chestnut in the past. Yeah. However, with that, the complex is not far from the university. And I remember the reason why the Chestnut did so well is because it was closer than the other bars. Yeah. People walked to the Chestnut.
People used to walk.
They did.
I just made eye contact with the microphone when I said that. People used to walk, Fredericton.
And the thing is, it's like, it's one of those things where it's, I'm wondering for you guys if as a venue and bringing bands in, the campus will become an extremely important part, I think, of what you guys are going to be getting in terms of students.
How many of you can't get into a bar?
And actually, a lot of the stuff we do is all ages, too.
Yeah, like most of the stuff we do is all ages because we can. It's something we do because we can.
And, people that love good music. They're not there to get drunk. They're there to listen.
But you could get drunk. If you're of age.
You're saying you can go. It's like wet dry.
It's wet dry, actually.
Oh, well,
even better.
You better clarify that.
I know, wet dry, dude.
Yeah, wet dry.
But like you're gonna get carded and stuff if you. So get ready for that. Getting carded, feeling young.
We don't have a lot of time on this show. Although I know that you'll be back next week, and I'm really excited. But we can't get into all the events. But maybe you can list off some of the upcoming events. And isn't there a show tonight? Actually, you want to talk about?
Tonight there is an event. This is Culture Week, Fredericton. And as part of Culture Week, Vagabond Trust and Gallery Connection have partnered to produce a poetry reading evening. So there will be different members of Vagabond Trust getting up, reading poetry. There will be an open bar not too open, not open to the underage, and it will cost money to you, but not much. And also, they're kind of having a bit of a challenge to people who come. You come in and you select an artwork that is up. Currently, we have the Yo Rodeo 3D Realms show up. It's a series of screen-printed posters that you put on the 3D glasses, and really cool. Kids love it.
Yeah.
Yo Rodeo is a poster company, so it was really great to have that material in during Celestial City. Really DIY art form, the poster, because you don't even need a gallery to make art posters. You just put them up somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, you pick a work, and what will be in there will be the Yo Rodeo thing, and also there's a student exhibition going up in time for an opening for that will be on Friday, but I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, you pick an artwork, and then you compose something, like maybe a postcard story or a poem about that work, and then you get up and you present it totally impromptu.
Wow.
That'll be fun with the bar.
They're so funny.
Yeah.
I wish people could see her when she says that.
Really deadpan.
Yeah, very deadpan. It doesn't come off on radio as well, but anyway. So that's really exciting, and I also
tonight.
saw. Yeah, that's tonight. Okay.
And then on Friday is the Fast-Assed party, not fast-ass, Fast-Assed. That is the Fine Arts Student Association of St. Thomas. Gallery Connection is partnering with that
Do you
association.
have the connection for that?
I do.
You should tell them to come on the show next week.
I will, actually.
I don't know why they're not, but anyhow.
Yeah. It's.
If you don't mind, I think there's a reason why they're not is because they don't know they can. So maybe if you could do that.
I will definitely let them know. They'll be so into that. They're a wonderful group of effervescent personalities. They're really excited. It's really nice to have them around, actually, at the gallery. But anyway, they have a small show of student work opening up in the Gallery 1922 gallery, which is just off the performance space. It's like a smaller one just off the Rick Burns gallery, which is the main gallery. And we're having a reception there. Admission, I believe, is $3 for students. And there will be some experimental music. Originally, we had the Homosexual Cops from Montreal booked, but one member of Homosexual Cops cannot make it, so the other person's side project, Michael Farsky, Love King, will be performing. And it's really impressive. Like, it's weird and it's funny,
now,
but it's also
date's that
thought-provoking. That's Friday. This is coming Friday.
Wow.
September 24th. And then he'll be DJing afterwards, so it'll be, a cool, sexy party for students.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to have to leave on that because time's running out, but I know you got a couple more things, but I'm going to see you on Thursday anyway, and it looks like we can wait, right? Or is there one more?
One more I want to talk about right now. The Avenues are coming from Peterborough.
That's the one. Yeah.
They're related to a lot of other Peterborough acts, such as Bear Trees and The Burning Hell, and they kind of remind me of the Pogues.
Yeah, which I think is awesome.
I love the Pogues.
Yeah, me too. So I think I'm going to check that show out myself. This is next Wednesday, right?
Loud Fun Party next Wednesday at Gallery Connection.
And for anyone who's wondering where that is, that's down on York Street. It's not far from the university campus at all. It's very
440
close.
York Street in
That's
the
right.
Chestnut Complex.
So we hope to see you guys out. And Maggie, as usual, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Tim.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.